Hello everyone, today I'm sharing a project with you using the beautiful laces and trims from Tresors Deluxe, and this is an altered lampshade or lamp. We have a 6-month-old kitten who tears through the house, really has no regard for anything, and she knocked one of these lamps down and the shade part ripped part away from the frame of it, and I thought, oh, so I was going to get some new shades, and I thought, you know, I've got all these things, let me alter a lampshade and give these lamps a bit of a makeover. And so that's what I've decided to do for this project for Tresors Deluxe. And I would pop in now a photo of the before and the after together, and then after that I have a small tutorial on how I did it, or just to show you what I did to upgrade these little lamps. Okay. So this is what the lamp looks like before it's been altered. It's just like a maroon colour with a very dark wooden base to it. That's the paint I'm going to be using, although that is an old white paint. I have mixed a white with it as well, because I find the old white it's not quite bright enough, but I don't want a pure white either. So there you go, that's the before shot of it. Okay, so while the stand is actually drying, I've taken the shade off. As you can see, it's not a high quality lamp by any means. It was bought relatively cheaply by my son for me quite some years ago. It's kind of got a plastic type of fabric coated shade. It's a little bit dented there, but that's the back of the shade. So I just remember to get the seam line at the rear of the lampshade, and I'm just going to cover straight over the top of this. I'm going to give it a wipe down first. The reason I'm going to just cover this over this is because I want the slight pink glow coming through of an evening. It just gives a very pretty effect. Even as it is like this, it gives a nice soft pink glow, and I want to keep that. So okay, so I've already done one of the shades. So I've cut all my things out that I need, and I'll just show you what that is. The first thing I have is I'm using satin, which is from a wedding dress. So that's some wedding dress satin that I'm using as my base. Over the top of the satin I have this lace here, which I got from an op shop or a thrift store. It was a shirt, and I just cut the panels up, and I've used it. Yep, that's just one piece. I've used that over the top of the satin because I didn't want it too shiny, and it's white, but it's an aged white look. Now the easiest way to get a pattern on something like this, because you can't just have a straight strip of fabric to go around it, it actually ends up curved, as you can see. And the easiest way to get a fairly basic pattern is if I'm just looking for a piece of paper. Okay, so probably one of the easiest ways to make a pattern for a frame such as this is get some tissue paper. I've just got a small piece, but get a larger piece than this. I'm just giving you an example of what to do. Find your seam line at the back. Like I said, get a bigger piece of tissue paper. Put the edge where your seam is and just crease it over the edge like that. Maybe pull it over. My seam line's running down here. Okay, so have a straight edge where your seam line is, not a crooked one like that. And go around. You could even peg that into place at the beginning there so it doesn't move. There could be easier ways than this. It's just, I tend to do things as I do them. Just crease it as you go around like that, all the way around the lamp. Obviously, this piece of paper isn't big enough, okay, but get a bigger piece. Do that all the way around, gently, and then take your clips off, open up your tissue paper, and you see how it's left a nice imprint of the edge of the lampshade there and at the top. And then what you would do is you would cut it slightly bigger than that. You know, I would cut it maybe 1.5 centimeters or probably 1/2 inch wider than the imprint that is left, and on the ends also. That's just one way you could make a quick pattern for yourself for making a cover for a lampshade. So I've made, I'm covered in fluff again now. I've made one. I've stitched the lace on. This is not an exact fit. I'm going to trim this up once I've got it on there. And I knew I would be doing that as well. See how mine, it overlaps at the edge like that, and that's fine. That's fine. So I'm going to put the edge of this. I might just I want this edge to be straight. So I'm going to trim that now. Just so I'm starting with a nice straight edge. And that is going to go there. And I'm just going to clip it there for the time being. Make sure I've got it right. All the way around, because because there were panels out of a shirt, I had to work with what I had, and it was very skimp. On the other shade, I had to actually join a couple of pieces up, so I ended up with a seam, which I didn't particularly want, but it's okay. So that comes around like that, and see how that's going to fit just nicely. So I'm going to just trim that up and tidy it a little. Doesn't need a lot coming off, otherwise it's not going to fit. Should be all right. So I know that's going to fit now, so I can start gluing this, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to glue around the top edge of my lampshade and along the bottom edge. Before I do that, I'm going to put a small bit of glue to hold that there, like that. Once again, just hold that with the clips and then go around, and then another small bit of glue there to hold the other side on, like that. And then I'll be back. Okay, so now I've got that glued on. As you can see, there's a lot of overlap there, so I'm just going to go in, perhaps not with those, they're a little bit big, and I'm going to trim it all the way so it's like that. I am not folding this over the edge. I have a bias tape that I'm going to be using for that. So that's why I'm cutting it exactly the size of the lamp. So I'll cut all the way around and then I'll be back. I'll do the top also. Okay, so that's all glued on now, as you can see, and all trimmed down. So I'm just going to leave that to dry. Just make sure you press it above it. I'm going to leave that to dry a bit. I just put a bit more glue there because I cut the stitching part off a bit, but that's okay because it's not going to fall apart or anything like that. So I will just allow that to dry properly before I start on the other part, and I'll be back shortly. What I'm doing now is, before I glue anything down, I'm getting the bits of trim that I want to use. That one's a big wide one, and I'm just pinning it into position like that. I just want to make sure they're going to fit right. Now I have a fairly good idea that this will, because like I said, I've already done the other lamp, but you know, just showing you which way it goes, and I kind of want to get this similar to the other one as well. I think that one I put next. Just let me take a little sneak peek. I mean, they don't have to be perfectly exact, but I do want them very similar. So that one will go up like that, kind of. Because the lamp is narrower at the top than it is at the bottom, you kind of have to play with it a little bit so that it will fit. It's not always going to be the same kind of diagonal line going across. You kind of have to adjust it as you go around. Like the gap here will be narrower than the gap between them down the bottom. You just have to allow for that slope of the lampshade. Okay, so the next one I use is this one. And of course these are all Tresors Deluxe beautiful trims and laces. So we'll put that there, and that one can go up like this. And I think at the back I played with it a bit as well. So that goes like that. Now I'll just go have a look what I did at the back of the other one, so it doesn't look silly. Okay, so I think maybe that one has to be more of a dramatic angle there, just a bit more. And that one will come down like that. That one will come down like that, and then we have this gap here. See how it's like a triangle to fill, and I'm using this lace, and I tried to get the trims that were all the same kind of colouring, and I kind of played, whoopsie daisy, I played with this a little bit, make sure I haven't got it upside down, and I just cut it into position, which I cannot do until I've glued all the other ones on. But what I do is that will go in there like that, but as it meets the other one, as it meets this one here, I cut it out. So I'll probably only have a triangle piece like that coming onto this lampshade. Okay, so what I might do is glue all these on to match my other lamp until I'm happy. Then I'll come back and piece that piece there in and show you. I just want to point out, when you're gluing, I'm using a tacky glue for this. When you're gluing lace on, try and put your glue where the thicker part of the pattern is, because overnight time when you turn your lamp on, you want to get the shape of the lace coming through. You don't particularly want to get all these random glue marks shining through. With a tacky glue or a wet glue, it's not too bad because it dries and it doesn't leave much residue behind. But if you are using a hot glue, you need to be very cautious to stick to the main lines of the design in your lace and your trim, so you don't end up with this just a whole mishmash of glue marks shining through overnight. And that's also why it's important not to have too many seams in your cloth covering, because where you join those seams will also shine through overnight. And you know, one seam is quite enough on a little lamp, and if you can situate that seam at the back of the lamp, but that's better still. Now, I didn't put glue on all the little strands, but if you see one that's not wanting to sit very flat, just go back and pop it down if you can. Okay, so as you can see, I've put all the trims around the lampshade, and I've got this like triangular piece left here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay my trim how I want it, like that. I will just trim off. I don't know why big scissors aren't that great when you're cutting around things, I don't think, so we'll just go straight across like that. So I'm going to glue that across there. I'll glue those 3 flowers into place first, and then I'll come back and trim this side here. So I mean, if you did your angles more upright, you probably wouldn't end up with such a big triangle, but I wanted mine to all be on an angle. I mean, obviously you could put your trims like that, going straight up and down and staggered around like that. That's fine. It's a personal preference how you want it to look. I wanted mine on an angle. I just thought it added interest because you could see like 3 different trims at the one time. It's a cool day here today, and the glue doesn't want to flow very easily at all, and because this is a tacky glue, it does take, you know, it doesn't come out too easily either. Quite like the tacky glue. I never used to use it. This is a Helmar's tacky glue, just popped into a different bottle because I like the thin nozzle on this. So I've got those 3 flowers. I'm going to be keeping this part, this flower here, this one, and then I'll just glue around the edge. So I'll just like that, just keeping it on those main parts of the trim so it doesn't get messy, like that. And then just along the edge, and although that netted lace under there looks a little bit loose, once I get the bias around the edge, that will all stay together very nicely. And then I'll run a little bit under here. Come on, glue, you can do it. Okay. And it all blends in because they're very similar colours. And then these two flowers here, I'm going to put one flower there and one flower up here. And maybe that half piece I can pop up here, because that had glue on it too, and that will just fill those gaps in nicely. And then I'll come back and show you how to put the trim on the edge. Alright, so that is pieced on, as you can see there, and that is, our seam is right here, and that's where that last piece went. So even, I mean, it doesn't look bad at all, but that will be at the back. So that works out really well. The next thing I'm going to be doing is starting once again at the back here. I have this bias binding. That's what it looks like. It kind of opens up like that at the back. Now this is from my own stash, that's why I'm using it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it, starting at the back, glue it halfway like that, and then I'm going to fold it over and glue it so that it covers up that raw edge there as well. And I'm just going to glue straight over those little metal pieces there, and that will make it all really nice and tidy. This is actually a white tape, but that's fine by me. My base is white satin, and then there's a slight old white lace, and then these ivory colour laces and trims. And then once I have that on like that, I have a Chinese kind of braid that I want to use, which is this one here, and that's going to go over it like that, and the white will shine through with a nice clean finish, and the contrast is exactly what I'm after. So I will glue this on first. I will glue it on top and bottom and come back and show you what that looks like. So the top is done like that, and the bottom is, it's been glued to the base of the lamp, and I'm about to fold it over like that. But what I wanted to tell you was, when you're gluing it on, glue onto your base and put your bias on before trimming it to size, because you want it overlapping a little bit, and you don't want to be short. Once you've got it glued to your base that way, apply the glue to the bias. Don't apply it to your actual lamp. It's just easier if you put your glue, mine's getting a bit low, but if you put your glue on the bias like that all the way around, then you can just fold it over. Be sure those two pieces there have glue between them as well. So all I have to do is apply the glue all the way around the strip. You don't need a lot of glue. This glue holds really, really well. And it just has to be enough overlap for me to be covering that the previous colour up. So now I'm just going to go around like that, fold it over. I may actually need to put a couple of pegs in to hold it until it sticks, because, you know, tacky glue, it's very good, but it's not as quick as the quick dry. So sometimes it just takes a little bit longer to hold. But that's okay, because once it starts going tacky, then it will grip. So if you leave it a couple minutes and then turn it, it will probably hold much better. And that will keep it nice and tidy on the inside. And just keep going around until you can feel that it's starting to grip. Like that. Sometimes it might need a bit more. A little bit more lower down, I think. Maybe I'll put right on the edge, like that. Ah, the kitten's attacking my foot. I don't know. Okay, so that's taking quite nicely. So we can leave that to dry and I'll be back. So I've put some glue around the top edge of my lamp, and now I am just going to be attaching I'll make sure I've got it the right way around. I think I'm pretty sure that's the right way. It's really hard to tell sometimes with this stuff. There's the other end. The other end doesn't have tape on it. Isn't that annoying? Quite sure I put, no, it's that way. Okay, so now I've put glue around the edge, as you can see, and I'm going to decide where I'm situating this, and then I want the little uneven edge to be just above the lamp. I think it'll give it a nice pretty finish, and the white tape will show through the holes in the braid, giving it a nice look as well. So we just go around and press it down, and the glue will dry nice and clear, so it won't even be visible. And when I come to the end, decide where it's going to be, give it a trim, and this is my own braid from my own stash, and trim that. But I like to put a bit of glue on the ends of these types of braids, because otherwise they may fray, and we don't want that at all. So give that a nice press, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing for the bottom. And can you see how it gives it that nice little edge? But I'm going to go around and just make sure that's nice and straight and lined up, and not leaning over too much, and make sure it's glued down. And I'll come back once I finish the bottom as well, because the bottom is exactly the same as the top. Just do it exactly the same way. Alright, so there's the top and the bottom of our braid done, and now I'm just going to go finish the base, finish painting the base. I have to give it its second coat, and I will bring it back to decorate and put it back together. I'll be back soon. Okay, so I have finished painting the lamp stand, as you can see. I just need to remove the little bit of washi tape I put around that part of the cord to protect it from the paint, and then we can do a little bit of decorating. I didn't over decorate the stand. Let's make sure that's clean inside there before I stick it under the camera. I didn't do an awful lot of decorating on this because I don't want them too fussy. A while ago I found some wallpaper at the thrift shop, And so I'm using that little part, the little flowery part, to decorate this. So just put it like that, and all I'm doing is putting that like that. I'm gluing that on there just to take the plainness away from the lampstand, and it gives it a very pretty look without being over the top fussy. We'll use some craft glue for this one. This one does tend to get a bit stringy. It's not my favourite craft glue, but it was the one that was available at the shop when I went. I might just put it on here perhaps. And this is not a hard project to do. It's very quick and easy actually. It's just it takes a couple of coats of paint to do the stand, but it dries very quickly, the chalk paint. So it's something you can do, you know, even while you're cooking dinner or something like that, on the kitchen bench. So, okay, so I just gotta, okay, that way. So we'll just put that there. Don't want to get glue on it, so we'll just make sure one side is stuck and then wrap the other one. I might just flip that over and have a look. So I think we need to slide it down just a bit. Okay. And that stripe is where the back will be. So that's a nice snug fit. Flip it over. I don't think it's exactly the same width all the way down. It might taper in a little bit there. And so that's alright, or it seems alright. Now, at the time I made the first one, which was about a week or so ago before I hurt my back and everything, I didn't have any flat back pearls, so I used just a little bit of cording, and I put that around there, a piece there, and a piece around there. So I seem to have misplaced a piece because I cut them ready to do the second one. So I'll just go find some more. Okay, what I used was this tassel I found for 50 cents because the actual cording I had was too dark, and I didn't want it too dark, and I thought I don't have to disturb the tassel parts on this because look, they're still wrapped in plastic and brand new, but I do want to use a bit of the cording off it. So where's the end that here we go. Okay, so I just want to use 2 pieces that length perhaps. I don't want it unraveling, so I have to be very cautious of it unraveling. So I might just cut them a bit bigger. Good. So just get the end of the tassel. I'll just get the end of the tassel glued on first because I don't want it to start unraveling. Although I might be able to just put it all on anyway. These are actually quite heavy, these lampstands. For the size that they are, they're quite, you can hear that, can't you? They're quite heavy. Alright. Hopefully we can get that on without it unraveling. I was going to use flat back pearls, but I didn't have any, and so that's why I decided to use the cording, which is a bit more fiddly, of course. Let's get rid of that. Trim it. Okay, let's see if we can save this. It is at the back. It should be all right. It's like some of the braids, they do tend to unravel if you're not careful and secure the ends of them. Be generous with that glue there, I think, so it will hold it. Let's just tidy that up a bit before that glue dries. It's got a bit I must have put too much on, I think. It will dry alright. It will kind of meld into that cord. I don't like to see too much glue on things. Okay. Just give it a press. Make sure it's going to stay. Should be fine. Okay, so that's the bottom one there. It just adds a little bit of finishing off to it. Like that, and then we'll put the same sort of thing up the top. And that's basically all I'm doing on the stand, and then the shade goes back on and we are all done. So I will show you the finished product now that you've seen how to do all this. And here are the 2 finished lamps, all completed. I've actually left the cords black because they sit on dark wood. If it was on a light colour table, I would have probably painted the cords, but I have no need to do that. So they're both there, going up. Now, if I didn't have a young cat or kitten who totally runs through the house like she owns the place and doesn't really care what's in her way at the moment, I would have probably put some crystal tassels on this as well. But because she's into everything, I will do that at a later date. Mainly because she'll only attack them if something's dangling down. So there we go. I'm quite pleased with them. I think they're quite pretty. Much nicer than what they were before.